Shalom, this is Ephraim Buchwald, and this week the world lost Elie Wiesel, a great representative of the Jewish people and a person who brought to the consciousness of the world the sufferings of the Holocaust and the freedom for Soviet Jewry. I once heard Elie Wiesel tell a cute story that I'd like to share with you. He said that he had to give a speech in Miami to a convention of Hadassah women, about 3,000 or 4,000 women. And when he got off the plane, he felt very sick. And he remembered that there was a landsman of his from Siget, which was Hungary, where he came from. And also, the Satmar Rebbe, Rabbi Yoel Teitelbaum, came from that town. Rabbi Teitelbaum was a fierce anti-Zionist who had written a book against Zionism, and Elie Wiesel was a great proponent of Zionism. He called up this friend of his from Siget who was a doctor, and he says, "Can you help me?" And the doctor said, "Come to my office." And he diagnosed him, and he said, "You need an antibiotic." And he gave him an antibiotic with a huge hypodermic needle. The next day, Wiesel felt better, but he couldn't sit for a week. When he got back to New York, he remembered that he hadn't thanked his friend, the doctor. So he called him up and he says, "Thank you for healing me, but why did you have to give me that big hypodermic needle?" So he says, "Well, you wrote an article against the Satmar Rebbe, which you criticized as anti-Zionism, so I had to punish you. I had to heal you because the Torah says I had to heal you." Elie Wiesel was truly a remarkable man, and he brought so many stories to the world and so much wisdom. And I'd like to just close with a quote from his book, Gates in the Forest. And he says, "When the great Rabbi Israel Baal Shem Tov saw misfortune threatening the Jews, it was his custom to go to a certain part of the forest to meditate. There he would light a fire, say a special prayer, and the miracle would be accomplished and the misfortune averted. Later, when his disciple, the celebrated Maggid of Mezrich, had occasion for the same reason to intercede with heaven, he would go to the same place in the forest and say, 'Master of the universe, listen, I do not know how to light the fire, but I am able to say the prayer.' And again, the miracle would be accomplished." Still later, Rabbi Moshe Leib of Sasov, in order to save his people once more, would go into the forest and would say, "I do not know how to light the fire, I do not know the prayer, but I know the place, and this must be sufficient." It was sufficient, and the miracle was accomplished. Then it fell to Rabbi Israel of Rizhin to overcome misfortune. Sitting in his armchair, his head in his hands, he spoke to God. "I am unable to light the fire, and I do not know the prayer. I cannot even find the place in the forest. All I can do is tell the story, and this must be sufficient." And it was sufficient. Wiesel closes by saying, "God made man because he loves stories." And I think God made Elie Wiesel to share those stories with humankind. May his memory be a blessing for all.